Yeah, hi guys. So today in this session, so we will learn about the input and the output decorators. So these are called as an decorators. So why? Because so at the rate we are using at the rate, right? So because of this reason we used to call it as an decorators. So before learning this input and the output thing, so why we need to use this input and output? So let's try to learn it. Let's say that for example, so we understood that Angular is completely we develop an application using the components. Okay, so you understood about this one. So everything in Angular is a component. Okay, is a component. So every module or any everything, everything we develop using a components. So that means, for example, you can have a parent child components. Okay, so parent child components means inside a component you can have inside another component. Okay, so you can also have another thing, something like sibling components. Okay, sibling components which are on the same level, so side by side. Okay, so these are the things. So sibling components which are on the same level. Okay, fine, let's keep it aside. So for example, let's say that component inside a component. So that means you have a component, something like app-users. So this is a component. Okay, and inside this component you will have something like app-users. You will have a component, right? Inside this one you have another component, something like app-user. Okay, so like this. So this is called as an, so don't think that we will be mentioning inside this open and close element. So just I am showing you that app-users component, inside this component we have a single component again. So that means here app-users is called as an parent component, and here app-user is called as an child component. Okay, so this is the thing I want to tell you. So now whenever you use component inside a component, so this is called as a parent component and a child component. Now we will get a scenario in such a way that this component wants to communicate with the child component. Okay, so this component, the parent component, wants to communicate with the child component. Communication means nothing but it wants to send some data to the child component. In the same scenario, the child component wants to communicate with the parent component. That means nothing but child component want to send some data to the parent component. So to send some signal or anything. So it wants to send some data to the parent components. So in this scenario, we will use at the rate input and at the rate output. Okay, so this is called as an input and output decorators. That means the communication between the components, where parent to child communication. Okay, parent to child component communication, we use input and the output. For example, let's say that this is an input. So this input we will be using to communicate from parent to child. Okay, from parent to child we used to communicate from parent to child, and this one we use output will communicate from child to parent. Okay, so from child to parent. So this is how we will be using. So this is the scenario we will have. So I will try to show you with a new demo so that you'll try to understand very clearly. So this is one of the important concept. Why? Because up to now we have developed the components individually without communication to each other. So the components which we have developed up to now, so the different components will not communicate to each other. So each component has their own particular set of HTML, their own particular set of CSS, and all those things it will be having. Now what we need to do is, so we need to have in such a scenario that components which are having parent child, so sibling components, leave it aside, which are on the same level. So now the components which are on the parent child to parent level, they want to communicate with each other. So that means the child should communicate with the parent, and also the parent should communicate with the child. So I will try to show you the demo here. So by using input and output, so we can do this, we can make this one possible. So let's try to see. So I am creating a new project here instead of this one. So I will create a new project so that you will try to understand very easily. So open with live server. Oh, sorry, I am opening this one with live server. Sorry, I want to open with File Explorer. And in this projects, let's go to the command prompt. Okay, so here I am using something like ng new sample users or something like that I am creating. Okay, so let's try to create it. I'll ask you some series of questions. So let it install. So it has been successfully installed. Now let's try to open this project. Cd sample-user. Okay, so I am going into this one. So I am opening the Visual Studio Code. Okay, so I have opened this one in the Visual Studio Code. This is our new project. So let's try to run it. Okay, let's try to see the output. So this is our second application which we are installing. So apart from the first application, so let's try to create ng serve. Okay, let it take time. So by the time, what I will try to do is, so here I will try to install. Okay, port is already in use, it is saying. So why? Because so this one is already in use. So let's try to remove this one and let's try to stop it and let's try to create it. And here I will try to do npm install bootstrap. So parallelly I will try to install it so that it will take some time. Okay, so let it install these two things. So fine, so it is installing, let it install. So let it run this one so we don't bother. So now let's go to the angular.json file, and in this one what I will try to do in the scripts, right, in the scripts, sorry, in the styles. So in the styles, what I will try to do here, I will be having node underscore modules slash bootstrap. I already shown you the folder structure how it will be. So dist slash css slash bootstrap dot min dot css. Okay, so this is the path we will be having. Now let's go to here and let's try to run it again. Okay, so now what I will try to do is, so first I will try to create a users table. So ng generate, not table, sorry, component, ng generate component, short form you can write ng gc users. Okay, so I am creating a users. So let it create users component. So if it's try to create, so it will take some time. Let it create, and let's go to the source folder, and I am closing this one also. So let's close these all the things. Okay, let's go to the source app, and in this users you will be able to see users.component.ts and also users.component.html. okay, now users.component.ts, right? Yeah, fine. So we have created our users component, right? So this is our users component. So I think it has been already ran. Yeah, let's try to see the output for this one. If I go here and if I try to open this one, yeah, we are able to see the sample user output. Now what I want to do is, here let's go into this one in the app component.html. I will try to delete entire thing and I will try to take a container. Okay, so here I will be using row call md-12. Okay, this is the thing I am trying to use. So here in this one I will try to add app-users. Okay, so this is our users table which you will be having. Okay, this is our users table. Now let's try to see the output. Now if I try to see the output, so we are able to see users works. Okay, so we are able to see the users work. Now what I want to show you is, so this is the users, right? So let's go to the users component and let's try to create a model. Okay, so here I will be creating a models, and in this one I will create an iUser. Okay, iUser.ts. Okay, so here I can have export interface iUser, and in this one we'll be having a name of type string, and let's assume we can also have an id of type number. Okay, so user will have a name of type string and occupation or something like this of type string. Okay, so which is an option you may have, you may not have. Okay, so these are the things you'll be having. Or let's maintain an address of type string. Okay, so these are the things you'll be having, and let's try to make this one as a optional thing, and I can remove this one. So there is no need to mention this one at the bottom. So if you want, you can mention it at the top also, not a problem. Just this one is an optional thing, right? So that is the reason I'm mentioning it at the bottom. So these are the 4 fields for an user you need to have for object creation. Okay, let's go to the app component.ts file. So normally what we'll try to do is, so here we are having the models, right? So now we can have something like, I can create in the users component only. Okay, I can create something like new file, user.ts file. Okay, so normally how we will be creating in the project application. So I'm having a class file, user.ts file, export class, we will be having a user. Okay, so now we will be creating a constructor for this one. So for this constructor you need to be creating public, so you need to send a string. Okay, so public name string, and what you can send, so you can send public id. Okay, so you can send a public id of type number, and another one what we can say, so we have another one, right? So the public occupation, or otherwise, so public address, so address we can send it of type string, and another one is something like public occupation. Okay, occupation of type string, so which is an optional thing. So this is our constructor. Okay, so now this is our constructor. Now what I will try to do, so here we will be having a users component. Okay, so here I want to create the list of users. So we have a list of users, so users of type. Okay, so one thing what you can do is you can add an iUser, or otherwise what I can do here, I can use user. So I can have a user of type user is equal to of type user or null. So let's try to make it as or null, so is equal to null. Okay, I will try to keep it as null, or otherwise if you don't want to keep these all the things, I can keep it like this, and let's import this user. Okay, and I can use something like this, so we can use bang operator, this one. So why? Because so in the TypeScript, in the latest TypeScript, so which was TypeScript in the latest and also in the Angular, if you go to the TypeScript configuration, so here you'll be having an option strict as true. So that means, so these are the strict as true, and also you will be having so for that reason what we need to do is must and should, when we are trying to create a variable, when we are trying to create a property, must and should, what it will try to ask is, it will try to ask in initialization. So for example, if you hover here, property user has no initialization, so that means you have initialized and it is not, and it is not assigned in the constructor. So you have initialized that one, but you haven't assigned any value, so because of that reason it is asking. Or otherwise what you can do here, instead of that one you can say that bang operator, so that you are saying that it is must and should, it will be assigned it somewhere. Or otherwise what you can do is you can keep something like null operator, so it will take null, and you can keep it as null here. Okay, so it will take either of the option, either user or null or something like that. So you'll try to so if you want you can keep it as null also, not a problem. Let's remove this ng on init. Okay, and let's remove this ng on init also. Okay, on constructor what I want to do is, so here I will try to create users is equal to, okay, so we will be having an array, and I will be creating something like new user. Okay, first user I am creating new user, so first guy is Leela. So for whatever the things I want to pass, okay, first one is an id 1 comma Leela, and also the success, and another one is an address. Address is nothing but what I can say is Hyderabad or something like that, and the occupation, if you want to mention anything, software or anything, you can mention it. Okay, so this is one user I have created. Okay, so I want to create another user, so how can I create? So again you can use new user. and another one ID I can give something like 2 comma, so another person. So let's say I don't want to mention the names and all those things, so let's try to keep it like this only. Okay, so I will say salesman or something like this. I'll try to. Okay, 2 users I have created. So these are the 2 users I have created. Let's try to see it. Okay, so what are the things it is asking? Person 1 Mumbai and sales we have created. Cannot find users. Okay, so this is a this dot users. So now we have created 2 users in our thing. So now what we have did here, so what are the concept we have did use, we have used the TypeScript flavor. So first one is we have created a model which is of type iUser, and the user dot here we need, if you want we can mention implements iUser, so which I have used it here. Okay, so must and should you will be having ID, name, address and occupation you need to have, and here I have used this users which is of type user, or otherwise you can also use the user. So I have told you that, right? So when we need to use the class and interface thing. So now next we can have, I'm creating a users, this dot users is equal to new user of like this and new user of like this. Okay, or otherwise previously how we have mentioned, so we can mention it something like ID is ID of type, ID of type 1, name of type Leela. So these are the things also you can use it. So this is we are using the object oriented notation. Okay, so now if you try, I will try to show you the console thing, and then you will try to understand it. So now if I try to use this console.log this dot users, okay, so how this users object will look like. If I try to see the output, and if I try to go to the inspect element, and if I try to do the console thing, sorry, not console thing, and now here you will be able to see array, and here we are having 2 objects. Okay, so the same concept what we have did, but we have implemented this one in an object oriented approach. So if you want you can also create this one like this also object, it's not a problem. So now we have the users. Now what I want to do, so here I can go into this one. So let's take that row, call md-12. Okay, so I am showing that h3 users list. Okay, so users list. Now what I want to do here, div I will be having. So in this one what I will do is ng for, so I will loop over ng for, okay, user of users. So we have user of users, and what I will try to do here, div I will try to show, or otherwise what I can do is I can have dot row, and I can have something like this one like this, and I can maintain this one as class is equal to call -md-4, and I'm looping over each one. So here I can show something like id user dot id. Okay, and another one is name, so I will be showing user dot name, and I will be showing another one is address, right? Address or something like this. I will be showing the address, and last one is an occupation. Okay, occupation. So if you can have, you can show the occupation. So this is the structure we are having. Okay, so now if I try to see the output, so I am able to see, so the output, so only we have 2 users, right? So we are able to see the details of these guys. So for example, if you want another guy, so you can go to the user.component.ts and you can create it without any problem. So you can have 3, and you can have the person 2. So like this we can say. Okay, so like this we can, so like this we can say it. So now if I try to refresh it, so we are able to see the list of all users. Now let's try to add it another more also. So 3, 4, 5, 6. So ID should be unique, right? So that is the reason. So 3, 4, 5, and here I can add something like or something like this. Okay, we can add it in, and here we can add something like mobile. Okay, electrical using A1. So for this guy, so let's leave it. So this guy doesn't have any occupation. Okay, we'll try to. So as the occupation is an optional field. So now if I try to see the output, so we are able to see the output such a way here. So if you want, you can make it somewhat designable. So let's go to this here, and I can add something like dot box or something like this. This is completely optional. So if you want, you can make it. So I can do something a border 1 pixel solid hash 000. So I will try to keep this one. So now if I try to see the output, so we are able to see it. For each box, I will try to add something like m by 3. Okay. So if I try to see the output, so fine, so somewhat fine. Or otherwise, inside this one, you can also apply px-2. Okay. So if I try to see the output, yeah, somewhat fine, right? You can also apply something like pi-2 so that all the places it will apply. So these are the bootstrap classes which you have learned earlier only. So these are the things, these are the user details which I want to display. So somewhat we are able to display it fine. Now if you try to observe, this is a users component. Okay, so this users component holds the list of all the users details. Now fine. So now here we are having a box in a such a way that, so this is one logic box. Okay, so the not logic box, what I can say is, so this is one looping over. So that means here we will be able to see that multiple divs call mod 4, these are all the types we will be creating here. So instead of having this logic inside this one, so let's generate another component ng-gc user, so which this component holds a single user. Okay, single user details. So this component holds a single user details. Now this component holds the multiple users details, and this user component holds a single user details. Now what I will try to do, the whole logic, single user logic, this design is there, right? I can copy this entire thing. I can go into this HTML and I can paste it here. So we don't have the users, right? So I can remove this users thing. Okay, and I don't have this user ID also. Let's try to maintain as like this only. Okay, so now, so I am making, so we'll try to get that user details here. So I have created here in a separate user component. Now I am having a simple separation that, okay fine, I'm able to understand that users table is responsible for creating a users. So here users, and in this one, so we have a logic in a such a way that, so tomorrow if you go on, right, so this logic will be increased. So now what I can do is, so this entire thing I can remove it. Okay, so this one I can remove it without any problem. Now here I can write a div here. Yeah, so in this div what I can do is, so here I can call app-user. Okay, so that's it. So now if I try to call app-user, I am able to see only one user details. Okay, so why? Because so we have added the component in such a way that if you try to see in the inspect element, okay, try to understand this one. So what we are trying to do, so if you go here, so we are having a app-users component. Okay, so this is a parent component. In this component we are having a users details. That is nothing but 0 1 2 3 4 5. So like this we are having the users details. Now let's try to see in this app users component we have one app user component. So there is nothing but a child component for this one. Okay, so this app user component doesn't have anything. So we are having only single app user component only. Okay, but we need to have, we are having something like 6 users. So that means 6 times this component should be there, single user, which handles the single user details. So we are having 6 users, means this app user which holds the single user details, it has to have 6 times. So what I can do is here I can loop over this one. Okay, user of users. So now I am looping over this one. So if you want, you can also use the track by also. Okay, so track by is equal to track user. So these are all the things we have already learned in the user start component. So you'll be able to get the track user. So you can have this track user index number, and also you'll have a user of type user. Okay, so here it should be not semicolon, comma. Now here we need to write return user is there, So user, always user will be there, not a problem. So just I am writing like that. Okay, so that's it. So now if you go into this user.component.html, and here you'll be able to get this app-user, right? Track by track user. Now if you go to this app component, now if you try to see the output, so if you try to see the output, let it refresh. And here if you try to see, so we are able to see, okay, so four users are there. Okay, 4 types of users are there in this one. So we are able to see these all the things, right? So 4 types of users are there. Wait, 1 second. What it is? One second. So fine, let's start. So here we are able to see ID, this one, like this, we are able to see the output, right? So 3 users are there because of that one. So we are able to, 3 users are there. 3 users only is there. We have only 3 users in this one. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 5, 6, right? Why? Okay. So same thing, right? So we are able to see it one by one down here. So now here we are able to see like this one by one down. Now, so what is the problem here we are having? So if you try to see here, so fine, so we are able to show the users details one by one here. But now the output what we are trying to show here, okay, the output what we are trying to show here, what I can say is, so this one, the output what we are trying to show here, it is fixed thing. Okay, so the ID, name and all those things are not dynamic according to this one. So what we need to do is we need to somehow send the user details to this component. So to that particular user component, send that particular user component, user details to that particular user component. So how we can send this one is, so we can send something like user square bracket user is equal to user. Okay, so we can keep it like this. User is equal to user. Now we are sending each user details to their respective component. So now if I try, now we want to access this user. So that is the reason it is telling. So now let's go to the users component, user component. Here, this component is getting an input from the parent component. Okay, so the parent component is sending some input to this child component. So this is a parent component, users component, which the user component is there, single user. The users component here. Okay. So it is sending some data. So we need to receive it from the child in the child component. So what we need to write it here. So here you need to write @input. Okay, it is getting a output. Okay, so it needs to be imported from the Angular core. Input and the name of this one. So whatever the name you are having here, right? Whatever say, let's go to here. Whatever the name you are using in this square bracket, the same name should be mentioned it here. So what is the type of data you are getting? It is of the type user. So again, this one will ask you that mandatory you need to initialize. You can keep a bang operator here. So not a problem. So this is the data which you want to receive it. So now let's go to this users.component.ts file. So now we have received this one. So let's try to see the output here. Okay, let's try to import that user thing. So we haven't imported, I think, because of that reason it is shouting. Let's try to import the user. Okay, top we are importing this user. So that's it. So now let's try to see the output. If I go here and if I go to the inspect element and if I see this Angular debugging thing, so that you'll understand very clearly. Now in this app users, so we are having app-user. So like this we are having so many components, right? Single user, which holds the single user component, and here you are having an input, and in this one you'll be able to see the user details. See, each user is having its own user details. So like this. Okay, so now what you need to do, you need to highlight these all user details. So now what I can do here, so we got the user details, and let's go to the user.component.ts, and here there is no need to loop and all those things. Just you can directly use user.id. Okay, and here I can use user.name, and here I can use user.address, and here I can use something like user.occupation. Okay, that's it. So now if I try to see the output here, the same output we are able to get it. So this is a design thing, so we are getting one by one down, right? So this is a design thing, so I don't want to bother. So first we need to communication and all those things we need to understand. So now ID 1 Leela Hyderabad we are able to see it, and this one we are able to see it here. This all we are able to see it. Okay, so this is how we can send the data from the parent component. Okay, from the parent component. So this is the parent component to the child component using the input thing. Okay, now in the parent component here, app-user, we are looping over each component and we are sending the each user details into their respective child component. Okay, so this is how we will be sending. So for example, let's say that in the user component. Okay, so now in the user component I have something like div. So here I am using this button, select user. Okay, select user. So whenever the user clicks on the select user, so I want to show a message in the parent component that here I need to show selected user. Okay, selected user is, so let's say that we can have Leela. Okay, so Leela. So selected user is Leela. So now we have a something like this one. So when I click on this one, selected user is Leela, or when I click on this one, selected user is person 1 or something like that. We need to show it in the parent. So this button is present in the child component. If you try to observe, this button is present in the child component. Where is this one? So in this child component we are able to see the button. So whenever the user clicks on this button, we need to emit or we need to send the information to the parent component such that here the user that parent component can show that the selected user is so and so person. Okay, we need to show him. So we need to show it. Somehow now the child has to communicate to the parent. So whenever any action has performed in the child means this child has to communicate to the parent. So how can we do? So now we understood that parent how to send the data, we have seen to child. Now the child has to, whenever the user clicks on the button which is present in the child component, whenever the user clicks on this button, we need to inform to the parent component so that the parent component will show some data. Okay, so this text is present here inside selected user. If you want to paste it inside this one, so every child component you will be able to see it. So for example, if I try to paste this one in the child component, let's say that, okay, I want to show it in the child component, let's say that like this I want to show it. So now if I try to show it, what will happen here? So everywhere you will get selected user like this. This should not happen. So at the top only should be there. So that means what I can do here, I can remove this one in the child and I need to use it compulsorily in the parent component only. Okay, so here I need to use it. So that means the child component has to inform to the parent component. So how it can inform is, so here we have a button. Okay, or otherwise first of all let's try to say that. So here you will be having selected user. Okay, so you can use selected user of type user. Okay, so this first time it will be null. So first time it will be null only. Sorry, is equal to null. Okay, so first time it will be null. So why? Because first time when the page loads, nobody selects any user, so selected user will be null. So now here you can write a condition in such a way that, sorry, in the parent component here ng if user, sorry, selected user is there, then only we need to show that selected user is Leela. So whatever the name. So now here I can show first time it will not show anything. So let's say that here what I can do here, so selected user dot name if it is selected. So this is the concept. So now for example, let's say that I have used something like in the parent component .ts file, so in the constructor or somewhere. So here I have used this dot selected user is equal to this dot users of 2, something like 2 I am selecting. So that means 0 1 2 person 2. So if I try to see here I'm able to see selected user is person 2. So whatever the thing I am trying to change it here, user of 3 or something like this. Okay, so we need to append it. So here if I try to see it, person 4. So everything is working perfectly only, but the thing is we should not assign it directly like this. So whatever the user selects the button here, that user must be selected. So how can I do this one is, So now you understood all the things, right? So how we will be, yeah, what we need to do here. So this selected user, somehow we need to uh, assign it with that particular user whom that button has been clicked. So let's go to this single individual. This is the place where we need to do it. So this is the button we are having. Okay, let's try to have a click event. So these are all the concepts we have learned already. On user select. Okay, so on user select. So this is the thing. So let's go to the user.component.ts file, and here we can remove this ng on it and all those things. We'll try to learn afterwards in the next sessions. So now let's try to see on user select. This is the method we are having. Okay, now on user selected. So that means on user this, when this method will fire, whenever the user clicks on this button, then only this method will fire. So now what I want to do is, so when this button is clicked, I want to send a signal to the parent. Okay, I want to send a signal to the parent. So now what I need to do is, so I need to send an output. So I need to send data outside. So we will be using an output. Okay, output user selected, something like this. I am using a name user selected. Okay, I can use user selected, and we need to assign it with a new event emitter. So this one will emit an event. So why? Because so we are having a parent and we are having a child component, and this child component is accessible in the parent component only through the selector. So selector means nothing but an HTML element. So this HTML element, when this one will fire, so through the events only. So we need to send an event, click event, like that. We need to send our custom event. So not click event or anything, we need to send our custom event. So custom event, for generating, what we need to do is, so we will be creating our own event emitter, and this event emitter, so this is a generic thing. So event emitter will try, it needs to send some data. Okay, so what you can do, what you need to say, the type of the data is a user. Okay, so this is the thing what we will be trying to do. So event emitter should be downloaded, not downloaded, what is this one, we can call it as, should be imported from the Angular core. So user selected is new event emitter. The type of data which it handles is, or which carries to the element, is user. Okay, now on user selected, so what you can do is, so when the user is selected, this dot user selected, so this method, this variable, so this property, it has a some methods. That is nothing but one of the method is emit. So it will try to emit, and it will try to send the data. So it will carry the data, this dot user. So this is the type of data we are trying to send it. So that here we are trying to send the type, right? So that type of data only we need to send it. So now I am emitting the data. I am sending the data to this one. So whenever the user clicks on this button, okay, so that means whenever the user clicks on this button, so this component is accessed through then HTML element, right? So whenever the user clicks on that button in this one, we are raising an event. Okay, we are raising an event, something like click event. These all the things are built-in events. We are raising our custom event. So now here you can write that custom event. So events are written in a parenthesis, right? So what is that one? User selected. So this is the event it will be firing. Okay, so now here you can write something like on user select, or anything, whatever the method you want, you can mention it. Okay, so this one on user select, you can go here and you can write it here. Okay, so this one will get an event. Okay, so we'll try to see what is the type of event. I will try to keep it as any, and let's try to console that log of event. Okay, and if I go to this user.component.html, and here we know that, oh sorry, not this one, so this one, right? So we know that for every event and all those things, so we know that we'll be getting a dollar event. We can get the dollar event. Okay, so what we have did here, so try to understand it carefully. So this is the component, and we are trying to raise a custom event. Okay, and this custom event, whenever the button is clicked, this one will raise a custom event, so that this event will be invoked. Okay, so when this event is invoked, it will call this method, so with the event, and this event is nothing but the data which we are trying to send it in the user component. Here this is the data, this data is nothing but an event. Okay, dollar event data. Now if you try to see here, if you go here, and if I try to see the inspect element in the console, And if I try to click select user, let it try to refresh. If I try to click on the select user, why it is not firing? So user.component.html on user select. Okay, so user selected. So this is the method only, right? I'm using. So users.component user selected. Oh, sorry. Okay, on user select. I'm using this on user select. Okay, fine. So what could be the problem here happening? Let's try to see one by one. So this button is not clicking or what? Where is this button? On user we are getting any errors? Nothing, no errors is there. So let's try to see on user select. This one is firing or not? New event emitter. This one already. Let's try to see console.log out. Emitted. Okay. Somewhere I have did some mistake. We'll try to see. So first of all, let's try to see whether this one itself is not firing. I don't know. This button, is there any wrong word that I have written in this button? Use. Okay, I didn't save this file. Okay, fine. So fine. So let's try to see it again. Okay. So now if I click on this one, see, I am able to get the user details. So here from where I am getting this one. So if we try to observe here, so this one I am getting it from the, okay, so this one is went to somewhere. So I will try to show you the users.component.ts file. Here I am trying to find an event. So here I will try to use the debugger, okay, so that you will try to understand very easily. So if I try to click on this one, so we are able to get a debugger here, and the event is nothing but the user details. So that is the user details I am trying to print. Here if I try to click on this one, so again this one will fire, and this time the event is nothing but a user details. Okay, particular user details. So now if you try to see here, so whatever the user I am clicking, so I am able to get those all details without any problem. So now that means here the event is nothing but, what I can say is it is of type user. Okay, so without any problem we can say that it is of type user. So when you are having a inbuilt events, so when you are having an inbuilt event, something like when you try to use click event and all those things, right? So when you try to use the click event, so you will get the dollar event, but this dollar event is not a type of user. So this is a type of event. Okay, that one DOM will send you. So now you will not have any problem. See, so now you will not have any problem. But this time when you are trying to send the event, so this time when you are trying to send the event, so this is nothing but an user selected. So this is our own custom event we are trying to send. So this time the event is an user thing. So that is the reason we are not getting any errors. So these all errors and all the things are dependent on the types that you are trying to mention it. So because of this one only, so it is able to understand that event what you are trying to send. And if I try to use here event of type event, if I try to use it, so everything collapses. So here if you try to see, here it will throw an error. Why? Because the event, it is type of user, but you are trying to assign it as a type of event. So but the event is trying to send of type user, it is trying to say. So because depending on that one, you need to use the typing thing. Okay, so in the TypeScript these types are very important. As I already told you that we should not use the anything, right? So anything will fine, anything will work, but in order to have the type safety and all those things, we need to use the particular types. So now we got the event. So what I can do here, so this is of type event. So now this selected user also takes of type user, and this event is also type of user. So I can assign it. So this dot selected user is equal to event. I can do it. Okay, that's it. So here there is no need to keep the event only. So if you want, you can keep an user also, normal user also, and you can add it like this. So in order to understand for you, I am trying to give it as event, so that you can understand that okay, the event which we are getting is of type user. So now if I try to show you the output, let's close this one. And here if I try to let's go up. If I try to click on this one, the selected user is Leela. If I try to click on this one, selected user is person. So if I try to click here, person 2, I will try to click on person 5. Okay, I will try to click on person 5. Now you will be able to see that selected user is person 5. So like this, we can able to communicate with the components using the input and the output thing. So this is how we will be communicating. So what are the things we have learned here? today. Where this one has been went, yeah, here, right? So these are the input and the output. So these are used for the component communication. Okay, so these are used for the component communication. So both input will send data from parent to child, and the output, it uses the event emitter. Okay, so inside it will be using the subject concept. So I will try to explain you afterwards. So when we are going deeper into the subjects, we will try to understand how this event emits and all those things, subjects and observables, how it will have. We'll try to learn it. Event emitter, so it will send the data from child to parent. Okay, so this is the component communication we'll be doing, input and output. So this is how we'll be doing. So I think so this will be enough, I think. So otherwise you'll get confused. So another one is a view encapsulation. So we need to learn. I'll try to tell you tomorrow. Local reference hash element, and also we need to learn about the view child also. So we'll try to learn tomorrow session. We'll try to learn. So this is how we will be doing the component communication. So this is the concept which we will be implementing. So input and the output. So don't get confused with this one. Try to practice 1 or 2 times. Then only you will be able to understand. So otherwise, in the first time when you are trying to see everything, you will be getting confused. So if you practice more and more only, then only you will be able to understand it. So that's it. Tomorrow session you'll see about the encapsulation and all those things. What is an encapsulation and all those things in Angular.